All right. So with the Secretary's consultations with Minister Gallant over the last couple of weeks since Iran's ballistic missile attack, has he been encouraging Israel to not retaliate against Iran's oil facilities or nuclear facilities? And is he encouraged by indications that that Israel may avoid those targets?
So thanks, Tara, for the question. So as you saw over the weekend, the Secretary spoke with Minister Gallant twice. I don't have more to provide beyond those readouts. Again, speculating on a potential response from Israel, I'd refer you to them to speak to their own operations, but I just don't have more to provide than those readouts.
Okay, so trying it from another angle then, would the Secretary prefer that Israel not strike Iran's nuclear facilities?
Appreciate the question in a different angle. I'm not going to be able to provide more than the readouts. The Secretary, as we've said for a few weeks now, we continue to engage the Israelis on and speak with them about what their response might look like. But I'm just not going to be able to provide more on that. Natasha.
Thanks, Sabrina. So in the letter that Secretary Austin co-authored with Secretary Blinken to the Israelis, I believe it was sent earlier this week, was that letter specifically a threat that the U.S. military is not going to be able to provide weapons to Israel anymore if they do not, within 30 days, get more aid into Gaza? It was a little bit vague in its wording. It kind of said that there will be implications for U.S. law if they don't change what they're doing. But is this specifically a threat to withhold certain forms of military assistance if they don't move forward with changing the amount of aid into Gaza?
So in terms of the letter that you referenced, I can confirm that Secretary Austin with Secretary Blinken, they co-signed a letter that went to their Israeli counterparts. This was personal, private correspondence, so I'm not going to get into more specifics of it other than it was expressing concern about the humanitarian conditions in Gaza, but beyond that, I'm just not going to be able to provide more details.
How can you say that it's personal and private when it's the Secretary of State and Secretary of Defense sending a letter?
The Secretary of Defense and Secretary of State can send private correspondence to their Israeli counterparts or counterparts all over the world. That doesn't necessarily mean that those letters need to be public. I understand that there is reporting out there and imagery out there of a letter, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it is a public letter for public consumption. It was, can I just finish? It was private correspondence because it was addressed to their Israeli counterparts, both of them. They send letters all the time to, whether it be to members of Congress or their counterparts all over the world that are not intended for public consumption. So the letters weren't addressed to, Associated Press or to Fox. It was addressed to two people, to their counterparts, and it was a letter that, I'm just not going to get into private correspondence beyond that.
It's on U.S. government letterhead, correct?
I cannot.
Private, is it like on, pink stationery, or is it on letterhead from the U.S. government?
I would assume it was on letterhead, Jen, but what I can tell you is that just because something is on letterhead doesn't mean that it's meant for public consumption or to be leaked to the press.
No, it's FOIA.
Sure, yeah,
So,
of course, but that's still.
I mean, that's, if you are a U.S. government official and you're writing to your counterparts, that's not private or personal. You are a U.S. government official.
You are a U.S. I understand the back and forth here, but so I think in fairness, U.S. government officials can engage their counterparts. They can have closed door meetings with their counterparts. They can do calls with their counterparts. We provide readouts of those calls. There are letters that are sent often between government officials that are not intended to be made public. I have seen some of the social media circulating around this letter. I understand the questions that you're asking about it, but this was meant to be a private letter. I shouldn't have said personal, a private letter between government officials talking about the situation in Gaza. And it was intended to be private. And those are conversations that also happen in person that are private conversations. We don't read all of those out every single time.